Hello, Diamond Hill Jarvis. Welcome to the fabulous Diamond Hill Jarvis High School. Welcome back, seniors. For those of you guys that are trying to figure out what to do after high school, I've got a few questions for you. Me and some of your other SOAR advisor teachers wanted to kind of give you a rough outlook on what life will look like for the next few years. We recommend that you get some sort of education or trade. The more you know and can do, the more you are worth to a company. Michael Jordan makes $100 million a year because he helps Nike bring in $27.7 billion. $2.7 billion is the Jordan brand alone. Bob Iger makes $43.7 million a year because he helps Disney bring in $7.5 billion a year. Maybe you can't start off making millions of dollars. Start somewhere. You have a few options. Option 1, go to the 4-year university. You know it has pros and cons just like everything else. We know that some of the pros with going and getting a 4-year degree is that you increase your job stability and career earnings. Learn cool stuff to show off at dinner parties. Put some letters behind your name. MBA, BAM, PhD, BS, MS, Meet high-quality spousal applicants. You can find marriage material, not divorce material.
Excuse me.
One of my favorite benefits of going to the 4-year university is the opportunity to leave home and gain independence. Maybe you can start a company or a business with your student loans. Many successful businesses were started in college. For example, Facebook, Google, Yahoo, WordPress, Microsoft, Reddit, Dell, FedEx, Time Magazine. Some of them were started as undergrad students, others as graduate students. Some of these companies were so successful in their business, they just completely dropped out of college and never finished. Just a possibility, not a recommendation. Of course, there are some cons with trying to go to a 4-year university. There's some disadvantages. The 4-year graduation isn't really what it used to be. Only 40% of students finish in 6 years. So if you're not serious, don't even go. If you're not willing to change every single thing about who you are and make yourself a new person, if you're not willing to stand up and have the growth mindset, do whatever it takes, don't bother. Unless you're dedicated and you're 100% serious about finishing, don't bother your time. Don't waste any money. Don't waste your time, because graduating with student loans will kick your butt. They are the most powerful form of debt in this country, often living beyond your bankruptcy or your death. Then there's option 2. Option 2, let's say you don't want to go to the 4-year degree. You just want to get a 2-year degree. You can always transfer to a 4-year degree later. 4-year university. Maybe you'll change your mind realizing, holy cow, maybe I do need an education. This way you're already progressing towards something great. Some college is better on an application than, well, I never gave myself a chance. 2-year degree increases your earnings even better than high school. Option 3, you can do something with your hands. Go to a trade school or a technical school. Learn an apprenticeship to learn a trade. Some examples of those are becoming a plumber or an electrician, a radiologist, oncologist, maybe get your certificate in nursing. These are all going to be assistant level positions. These aren't the surgery/doctor level, which take a lot longer, but they'll at least get your foot in the door. And you may make more than not having any college education, just having a high school diploma. Cosmetology or licensed barber, master licensed barber, these are state certifications. These are not like cutting hair in your mom's living room or your mom's garage. It is college with financial aid, some loans, and lots of studying. At the end of your school, there's a state licensure certification exam. So you'll actually have a certificate from the state of Texas. Option 4, enlist in the military. You can go part-time or full-time in the reserves or in active duty. Many different sectors of the military, many benefits. You have the Air Force, the Navy, Marines, Army, National Guard, etc. They're looking for a few good men and women. Do you guys remember 9/11? No? Well, what about ISIS? ISIL? There will always be a need to protect. Travel the world and save your cash. Take advantage of the GI Bill, which will help pay for your education. Maybe you're not ready to go to school now, but you will be later. The GI Bill will help you pay for that. And then there's VA benefits for health and everything when you get back. Learn a trade in the military. Maybe you don't want to go to the technical school, but you can learn a trade like being a mechanic or a medical technician or a pilot. Even learn some leadership skills. Without those 4 options, your happiness is pretty bleak. I'm not saying that you're going to be a failure. However, the odds may not be in your favor. For example, most of your jail or prison inmates are working on their GED. The reentry rate is very high. 2/3 of these inmates are illiterate and can't keep a job because their reading and math skills are epic fails. Texas has many cashier jobs. Most jobs are in the service sector, and these are out of reach for felons. Texas builds prisons based on the number of people that fail the 3rd grade. So education and incarceration, they go hand in hand too. I'm not saying that without an education, you're automatically going to go to prison. No. I'm just saying that most of your people in prison don't have educations. So just because they go together doesn't necessarily mean one causes the other. Correlation does not always mean causality. The divorce rate in this country is 50%. Half of all marriages end in divorce. And the number one reason for divorce? Financial problems. Life comes at you fast. Prepare for your problems in advance. This is your future. You have to choose it. The main things we want to remind you, whether you're working on option 1, 2, 3, or 4, going to school, getting education, going to the military, choosing a trade, stay clean and lean. Work out, stay away from drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Try not to have kids for at least 5 to 10 years. If you already have 1 or 2, that's fine. Just take your time. You'll have plenty of time for that. You want to be an adult. You want to enjoy your time as an adult during your spare time. Instead of drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, learn to play a musical instrument. Perhaps write a book, maybe an autobiography. Learn to code. Writing computer code is something that may land you a job at Facebook or Google or the next tech company. All those big tech companies like Facebook, Google, Instagram, Pinterest, none of those existed 10 years ago. Those are all less than 10 years old. Less than 10 years old. Volunteer. You never know when you might meet the next billionaire. Perhaps Ed Bass. You'll network with deal makers. Think about it. Drake was a nobody actor turned millionaire rapper. Susan Boyle was nobody, and then she sold 14 million albums. J.K. Rowling was a single welfare mom, living in her car, couch surfing. She wrote a couple Harry Potter books and became multi-millionaire. You're not sure how much money you'll need, and that's understandable. How much money will you need? What is a lot of money? Sometimes what we think is a lot of money really isn't. If you want to find out about how much you make in a year, just double your hourly salary. If you make $10 an hour, you're making about 20 grand a year. You're making $15 an hour, you're making about 30 grand a year. You want to make 100,000? Well, get that education. I'll show you a few career and salary examples. The wonderful Diamond Hill Jarvis High School, ladies and gentlemen. Now, some of your low-skilled, low-education jobs, they're going to pay a little less, but there are some of those jobs that make a significant salary. Postal carriers, the mailman, things like that. There's many jobs here. But as you know, with education, the more education you have, typically the more money you earn. So as you notice, go over to medium skilled, medium income, medium education. The incomes are a little higher, but there's many different sectors. Here's 500 careers you can choose from. High skilled, high education, and then there's elite. These guys are the highest skilled, the highest earners, and the highest educated. Orthodontists, anesthesiologists, OBGYNs. Hey, we all love babies, right? Surgeons, doctors. These are all your top paying jobs. If you want to know what puts you in the top 1%, that makes you have a family household income over $500,000. So maybe you and your spouse are both high paid doctors or high paid attorneys. You guys pull in 500 grand a year. You are in the top 1%. You want to be in the top 10%? Well, that's $200,000 a year for a household income. You want to be in the top 20%? $100,000 a year. So back to our slide. You want to make 100 grand a year? Well, 80% of the country makes far less than that. Perhaps you want to know what it costs to live in other cities. Maybe you decide, well, Fort Worth is too small for me. I've outgrown it. I'm going to go to the Big D, Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, Chicago, or even better, how about New York City? You want to move to New York City? Okay, let's say, for example, you make $50,000. You live in Fort Worth, Texas, and you want to relocate to perhaps Manhattan, New York. your comparable salary would be about $111,000. Again, the more education you have, typically the more money you earn. Well, how much do you actually need after all? According to the 2015 poverty guidelines, this is about how much you'll need just to cover your basic food and needs. Family of one, single person, 11 grand. Okay, making minimum wage, $8 an hour, that's about 16,000. Sure, you have enough. You have enough for one kid. One person with one kid making minimum wage. I hope your kid doesn't get sick, because then you have to call in sick and then you lose there you go. Now you're in poverty. Welcome to the real world. Let's say you have two earners. The average in the United States is a family size of 4, either 2 adults and 2 children or 1 adult and 3 children. The average is about 4. If you look at your poverty guidelines and you want to compare yourself to what some of the benefits, for example, WIC uses 185% of the federal poverty guideline or the federal poverty level. So you multiply your federal poverty level based on your family size by that multiplier of 1.85, and that'll tell you whether or not you qualify. Of course, you want to earn enough money to where you don't have to rely on WIC, reduced lunch for your children, Medicaid, CHIP, Children's Insurance, Affordable Care Act subsidies, CCMS, which is child care help if you work 25 hours or go to school. You don't want to rely on that. So you want to make at least 3 times the federal poverty level, which is 2.96, 2.5, 3 would land you just out of that. Okay, so now you're in the middle class. Welcome to the middle class. Once you reach your financial independence, then you can be on the lookout for tax write-offs, corporate subsidies to kind of help you ease your tax burden and your cost of living. Because how else do we fund these programs like WIC, Medicaid? Well, we fund them with tax dollars. So if you are a higher earner, you have a higher tax. If you are a lower earner, you get subsidies. Again, here's the numbers, big, bold print for you. Remember, education pays. Remember from February 4th, the more education you have, the more pleasant working conditions, the more ownership you have in the company. This is on average. There are some people with doctorate degrees that are on food stamps. Just like there are some people that have a high school diploma or college dropouts and they're billionaires. But most of the time, on average, the median salary increases the more education you have. And guess what? The unemployment rate drops. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your choice, your future. We can't make this decision for you. We're just here making millions of dollars to give you we're not making millions. We're just here to help make you better individuals. We're just giving you your options, 4 options. Remember what is important, what is truly important. Life during and after school. Cherish your memories. You're going to have to succeed in a more expensive world. Costs are only going to increase. The cost of gas, guess what? It's going to go up. The cost of bread, milk, jelly, eggs, it's only going to go up. Housing, guess what? The more people there are in this world, the more everything costs. It's called inflation. Option 1, college, career of your choice with salary and benefits. Vocational or trade school, you get a higher salary, learn valuable skills. A certificate or a community college, it's low cost and you have high lifetime earnings. Maybe if you go to the military, you can retire after 20 years. Then of course there's the one for the people that decide they don't need an education. They're not even gonna finish high school. They're just gonna join the prison sector, work for the state. And if you ever wonder what I'm talking about or where you can find more information, check out TexasRealityCheck.com. It'll give you a list of salaries. Huffington Post, how much the guy from Disney makes. Or maybe you don't believe me about Michael Jordan making $90 to $100 million a year. Companies started by college students. What you should do after high school instead of college or during. I wish you the best of luck, ladies and gentlemen. Diamond Hill Jarvis is the greatest high school on planet Earth. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, ask your SOAR teacher.